You're not broken. No, you're not. You're just buried under the weight of lies that were never yours to carry. Somewhere along the way, the world handed you burdens, stories about who you should be, what you should do, how you should feel. These stories are not yours. They never were. Yet here you are, crushed by their weight, convinced that you're less than what you are, convinced that the pieces of you are scattered beyond repair. Let me tell you something. This is the moment everything changes. This is the moment you decide to stand up from beneath that pile of falsehoods and realize something. You're not lost. You've just been misled. Do you feel it? The pressure, the tension, the overwhelming sense that you've reached the end of your rope. I know it. I've felt it too. You've been told that your time has passed, that you're done, that your best days are behind you. You've been surrounded by whispers, by looks of doubt, by the cold weight of the world that expects you to shrink, to fade away. But right now, right in this very moment, I want you to feel something deeper. I want you to hear this. You are not done. You've been living under someone else's definition of who you are. You've been living under their expectations, their limitations, their doubts. But here's the truth. You are so much more than they've ever let you believe. This is where the shift happens. This is the turning point you've been waiting for. You've carried that load for too long. You've carried the disappointment, the regret, the fear that has been poured into you by others, and now it's time to put it down. You don't need to carry it any longer. You don't need to let it define you anymore. You're standing at the edge of something extraordinary, something only you can create. And it all starts with you realizing that you've been holding on to a version of yourself that was never real. The world told you who you were. The world told you what you were capable of, but that was just noise. That was just static. The truth is louder, clearer, more powerful. The truth is that you are more than what they've made you believe. Feel that weight lift for a second. Let that lie you've been holding on to, the lie that says you're not enough, crumble beneath your feet. I know it's hard to believe. I know it feels almost impossible to shake off years of doubt, of conditioning, of rejection. But I promise you, what lies ahead, what waits for you on the other side of this moment, is the most powerful version of yourself you've ever known. And it's waiting to rise. It's waiting to roar, to fight, to stand tall in the face of every expectation that was forced upon you. You've heard the whispers of doubt. You've heard the voices that told you to give up. But now you need to listen to the voice inside you that's been silenced for too long. It's there. It's in your chest, beating with a rhythm that is uniquely yours. It's the voice that says, "I'm not finished yet." It's the voice that knows, deep inside, that everything you need to succeed is already within you. This is the moment of rediscovery. This is the moment where you stop looking outward for answers, for permission, for validation, and you start looking inward. You start drawing on a strength that's been buried under all those lies. It's time to uncover it. It's time to breathe life into it. You're not broken, my friend. You've been waiting for someone to tell you this, but I'm telling you now. You are exactly where you need to be. All the struggles, all the pain, all the moments where you thought you couldn't go any further, they've been preparing you. You've been molded in fire. You've been tested. You've been forged. And now you stand at the brink of your comeback. This is not the end of the road. This is the beginning of something far greater than anything you've experienced. This is your moment to rise. So hear me when I say this. The time to reclaim your power, to reclaim your purpose, is now. This is your call to action. This is your wake-up call. You're not done. You're not defeated. And anyone who told you otherwise, they were wrong. They didn't know you. They didn't know the fire that burns within you. But I see it. I see it clearly. And I know you can feel it too. Are you ready? Are you ready to rise from the ashes of doubt? To stand tall in the face of everything that has held you down? The journey you are about to take, this journey of rediscovery, of awakening, is the one that will change everything. But it starts right here, right now. with you. You are the one who decides. You are the one who will claim your comeback. You are the one who will rewrite your story. This is just the beginning, and everything that follows is yours to create. You know that feeling, that constant weight pressing down on your chest. It's not just exhaustion, it's something deeper, something suffocating. You feel like the world is closing in, and every step forward only drags you deeper. Something suffocating. You feel like the world is closing in, and every step forward only drags you deeper. Every attempt to lift your head feels like another heavy chain pulling you back down. You've tried, you've pushed, you've fought, and yet it feels like the ground beneath you keeps crumbling. You wonder if you'll ever find solid footing again. There's a pain in your heart that you can't shake. You're tired of pretending that everything is okay, when deep inside, you're drowning in uncertainty, in fear, in the overwhelming sense that you're running out of time. I want you to know, right now, that your pain is real. You've been through things that no one else has seen. The battles you've fought, sometimes in silence, sometimes out loud, have been relentless. The sleepless nights, the endless worrying, the self-doubt that gnaws at your mind like a vicious predator. You've been standing at the edge, fighting not just to survive, but to find your way out of a place that feels endless. You've questioned yourself more times than you can count, wondering if you're ever going to make it. And in those darkest moments, when the voices of doubt are the loudest, it can feel like hope is just an illusion, but it's not. You've been carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, and there's a reason it feels like too much. Because for too long, you've allowed the external pressures of this world to dictate your sense of worth. You've been told what success looks like. You've been told who you should be, what you should look like, what your life should reflect. But I'm here to tell you that the world's expectations, the world's definitions, those are not yours. They've never been yours, and they're holding you back from becoming who you were always meant to be. There are forces outside of you that have been whispering lies, constantly, unrelentingly, and those voices, they're louder than the voice inside of you that tells you that you can still rise, that you're still capable, that there's still more to you than you could ever imagine. Those voices, they're the ones that have tried to crush your dreams, make you second-guess every decision you've ever made, feed you doubt like a slow poison. Every time you've thought about pushing forward, about reaching for something better, those voices have been there to remind you of what you're not. You're not good enough. You're not strong enough. You don't have what it takes. And those voices have been relentless, haven't they? They've followed you into every room, every conversation, every quiet moment when you've been left alone with your thoughts. You've seen the way the world's eyes can turn on you when you're not fitting into the box they created for you. You've felt the sting of rejection, the sting of disappointment, the sting of never feeling quite enough. Maybe they've told you that you're too old, too inexperienced, too broken, too different. They told you that your time is past, that your best days are behind you. And every time you've heard those words, a little piece of your spirit has died. But those words, those voices, they're lies. They are the villain in your story, the antagonist that wants to keep you in the shadows, to keep you from shining. They are the forces that want you to shrink, to doubt, to believe that you're less than what you truly are. But I want you to hear this now. You are not their story. You are not defined by their lies. It's the same with your fears. They whisper in your ear, don't they? You're not enough. You'll never make it. Who are you to dream big? Every time you stand up, every time you try to move forward, your fears are there, dragging you down, holding you back, convincing you that you don't have the right to move toward your goals. They speak in the quietest moments, when you're trying to gather your strength for the next step, telling you that maybe it's just easier to stay where you are, even if where you are isn't where you want to be. But I'm here to tell you that those fears, They don't have to win. Yes, they're real. Yes, they're powerful. But you have something far more powerful inside of you. It's a fire that has been smothered by doubt, by fear, by the crushing weight of expectations. But it's there. It's always been there. And the moment you decide to stop listening to the voices that want to hold you down, the moment you decide to face those fears head on, is the moment your life begins to change. You've been running on empty for too long. You've been trying to give your all, while your well has been dry. But that's not your fault. The world has taught you to measure your worth by the wrong standards. It has made you believe that if you're not achieving their version of success, if you're not keeping up with everyone else, you're falling behind. But that's a lie. Their success is not your success. Their path is not your path. And every moment you've spent chasing what they want you to be, you've lost sight of what you want to be, what you are capable of achieving. I know how easy it is to give in to that feeling of defeat, that overwhelming urge to surrender to the weight of your struggles. But I also know this, that feeling, that sense of hopelessness is not the end. It's only a chapter. It's not the whole story. Because even in the midst of this struggle, there's something inside of you that refuses to die. There's a strength in you that no one, not even your own fears, can ever truly crush. So let's stop pretending. Let's stop pretending that everything is fine when it's not. Let's stop pretending that you're okay with being stuck, with being small, with being less than what you know deep down you are capable of. Your pain is valid, and it is real, but it is not your final destination. The world can try to define you, to tell you where your limits are, to tell you where your value ends. But it doesn't know you. It doesn't understand the fire inside of you. You're more than your struggles. You are more than the doubts that have been planted in your mind. This is not the end. This is not your final chapter. I'm here to remind you that the villain in your story, the doubts, the fears, the negativity, doesn't get to decide who you are. You do. And it's time to take that power back. It's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking this is it, that you've reached the end of your road. You know the feeling, don't you? That suffocating weight pressing on your chest, the heaviness in your bones, the exhaustion that never seems to leave. Every attempt to move forward feels like you're running through quicksand. One step forward, 2 steps back. And no matter how hard you push, the pain, the doubts, the fears, they keep coming, pulling you under like a relentless tide that won't let you breathe. You've been here before. It feels like every time you try to stand tall, the world knocks you down again. And each time, it gets harder to find the strength to rise. There's a certain point, isn't there, where the fight begins to feel like it's too much, like it's all too overwhelming. The weight of the struggle starts to drown out the whispers of hope, and all that's left is the noise of defeat. You start to wonder if you're really cut out for this, if you've been fooling yourself this whole time, thinking you had what it took to keep going. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything for you. I'm not here to tell you that the road is easy, or that everything will magically work out if you just keep hoping. No, sometimes it really does feel like the universe is conspiring against you. Like every door you try to open is slammed shut in your face. Like the things you've worked for, the dreams you've chased, have all led you to this, standing on the edge, wondering if it's even worth the fight anymore. And I know that feeling. I know the deep, gnawing pain of feeling like you've given everything, only to find that it's still not enough. I know the loneliness of staring at your reflection and wondering who you've become. I know the frustration of looking at your circumstances and realizing that no matter how hard you push, no matter how many hours you put in, it still doesn't seem to be enough to make things change. And when you've been fighting for so long, for so many years, that doubt starts to creep in like a shadow that never leaves. What if this is all there is? What if it's never going to be any different? But here's the thing, the trap you're in isn't one you're stuck in by accident. It's a trap of your own making, and more than that, it's a trap that's been built on the illusion that someone else, some circumstance, some outside force, is going to come and save you. You keep waiting for the breakthrough. You keep waiting for that moment when everything just clicks, when things finally get better. You keep hoping that some divine intervention, some miracle, is going to make it all fall into place. But let me tell you something, waiting is not going to get you out of this. Waiting for salvation, waiting for someone to swoop in and fix everything, is the very thing keeping you stuck in this cycle. The moment you believe that your fate is tied to someone else's actions, to some miracle that's out of your control, you give away your power. And in that moment, you're no longer the hero of your story. You're the victim. You've allowed your circumstances, your struggles, your fears, and your doubts to take control. And in doing that, you've abandoned your own strength, your own agency. You've become a prisoner in your own life. It's so easy to fall into this trap, isn't it? To think that somehow, if you just wait long enough, something is going to change. That if you just keep your head down, keep working, keep hoping, eventually you'll get your break. But let me tell you something. Waiting is not a strategy for success. Waiting is a strategy for staying stuck. When you wait for things to change, you're missing the point entirely. The change doesn't come from waiting for someone else to fix it. It doesn't come from external circumstances suddenly falling into place. The change, the transformation, the breakthrough, they all come from within. They come when you stop waiting, when you stop looking for someone else to save you, and start taking action, regardless of the uncertainty, regardless of the pain. Right now, it may feel like the darkness has consumed everything. It may feel like you're trapped in a pit with no way out, with no hope of ever seeing the light again. It may feel like the weight of the world is pressing down on you so hard that you can't even breathe. But I'm telling you, you're not stuck here forever. The trap you're in is only temporary. The darkness you're experiencing is not your permanent home. But here's the truth. You have to stop waiting. You have to stop thinking that someone else is going to fix it for you. That's the lie that's been holding you down. You've been telling yourself that if you just wait long enough, things will get better. But it's not about waiting. It's about moving forward, even when the way seems impossible. It's about taking control of your life again, even when it feels like everything is falling apart. I know you're tired. I know you've been fighting for so long, and it feels like every step forward is met with another setback. But the waiting, it's not the answer. The answer lies in your willingness to act, to step forward into the unknown, even when it feels like you have nothing left. The answer is in rediscovering your power, even when it feels like all you can do is survive the next moment. You're in a dark place. Right now, I get it, but that darkness isn't your enemy. It's a test. It's a challenge that, if you face it head on, will give you the strength you never knew you had. But you can't do that if you keep waiting for someone to come and rescue you. It's time for you to become your own hero. The world doesn't need another victim. It needs someone who is ready to rise. It needs someone who will stand up and say, "I'm not waiting anymore. I'm taking control." And once you do that, once you stop waiting for someone else to save you, you'll realize that the world doesn't stand a chance against your strength. You're not broken. You're not stuck. You're just waiting to break free. And that moment, that realization, that's where your true journey begins. So stop waiting. Stop sitting in the darkness, hoping for the light to come. You are the light. You are the change you've been waiting for. And it's time to step into your power. There's a spark inside you that no one can extinguish, no matter how hard they try. You might not feel it right now. In fact, it might feel like that spark is hidden beneath layers of fear, doubt, and pain. But trust me, it's there. It's buried deep within you, waiting for the right moment to ignite. And I know it feels impossible sometimes. It feels like everything around you is darkness. It feels like no matter how much you fight, the world just keeps pushing you further into the shadows. But I want to tell you something important. That darkness, it's temporary. And that spark, that's the beginning of your rebirth. I understand how hard it is to believe in the light when all you see is the endless night. I get it. When you're trapped in a cycle of pain, when you feel like nothing is ever going to change, it's easy to start believing that this is all you'll ever know. That the hopelessness you feel now is just the way life is going to be. But that's a lie. The truth is, transformation doesn't happen when things are perfect, when everything is in place and the stars align. No, transformation happens in the darkest of moments. It happens when you've been knocked down so many times that you think you'll never get up again. But that's exactly when it starts. I know that right now, you might feel like the weight of the world is too much to carry. You may be standing in the ashes of what you thought was your life, your dreams, your hopes. Everything around you might feel broken, shattered, and beyond repair. But the truth is that brokenness isn't the end. It's just the beginning, because even the darkest night gives birth to the dawn. And right now, my friend, you are standing at the edge of your own dawn. All you need is the courage to rise, to push through the pain, to take one more step into the unknown. Look at nature. Look at how a seed breaks through the earth, slowly and painfully, pushing its way toward the light. The seed doesn't know what's ahead. It doesn't know the beauty it will become, the strength it will possess. But it trusts the process. It knows that growth takes time. It knows that there is strength inside it, even when it can't see it yet. That seed is you. You are the one who has the power to grow, to transform, to break free from the chains that have held you down. You have everything inside of you that you need to rise. All it takes is your willingness to embrace the journey. In the moments when you feel like giving up, remember this: you are a force of nature. You have the same power that moves the tides, that causes the seasons to change, that brings the sun up every morning. It's in your bones. It's in your blood. And yes, it's buried beneath the weight of the world's expectations, your own doubts, and the scars of your past. But it's there. You are not empty. You are not powerless. You are a spark waiting to become a fire. The truth is, you've been underestimating yourself. You've been listening to the voices around you, the doubts, the fears, telling you that you're not enough. But those voices, they're just noise. They're the lies you've allowed yourself to believe for too long. The truth is that you have more power within you than you could ever imagine. You've faced storms before. You've survived things that should have broken you. And yet here you are. You're still standing. That's your strength. That's your resilience. You've been so focused on the brokenness, the struggle, the pain, that you've forgotten to see the power that's been growing inside of you all along. It's like a tree. Its roots are buried deep, and it's weathered countless storms. But it still stands tall, and eventually, and while it may have felt like you were being broken down, you are actually being built up. Pain doesn't destroy you unless you let it. Pain is a catalyst for growth. It's the hammer that shapes the steel, the fire that forges the sword. Your struggles are not your prison. They are your training ground. Every moment of suffering, every defeat, every setback has been preparing you for this moment. This moment when you will finally step into your true power. Now, I know that it's easy to get lost in the pain. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that your past defines you. But that's where you're wrong. Your past is not a chain. It's a lesson. You have the ability to transform every hurt, every failure, into something beautiful. You have the power to rebuild yourself from the ground up, not with the validation of others, but with the inner strength that has always been within you. Think about a tree. The strongest trees don't grow in perfect, calm conditions. They grow in the harshest winds, in the toughest storms. The winds may bend them, the storms may shake them, but they don't break. They become stronger. Their roots grow deeper. Their branches reach higher. They are forged by the storms, and in doing so, they become the tallest, the most resilient, the most unshakable. That's what you are becoming. You've been through hell. You've faced storms that tried to tear you apart, but you didn't break. You stood strong, even when everything around you was falling apart. And now, you have the opportunity to build something new. You have the opportunity to rebuild yourself, not just from the broken pieces, but with your own hand. You don't need anyone else's approval, validation, or permission. You have everything you need within you. Rebuilding starts with reclaiming your power. You've given so much of yourself to others, to your fears, to your doubts. But now, it's time to give that power back to yourself. It's time to stop seeking approval from the outside world and start finding validation from within. You don't need anyone to tell you that you're worthy, because you already know it. You've been through too much to ever doubt your worth again. Your value is not defined by your failures or your mistakes. Your value is defined by the strength you've shown to keep moving forward, even when the world tried to knock you down. This is where your journey truly begins. You've been through the worst, but you're still standing. That's your strength. That's your resilience. Now, it's time to step into your full power. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the creator of your story. You have the ability to write your own ending. The chapters that have come before may have been filled with pain, but they don't define you. You get to choose what happens next. The world may have tried to break you, but it didn't succeed. It's time to rise above it all. It's time to stand tall and unapologetically declare that you are not afraid, that you are not broken, that you are not weak. You are a force to be reckoned with, and you are going to show the world just what you're made of. Pain has been your teacher. Struggle has been your training ground. Now it's time to step into your greatness. You've already faced the worst. Now you get to create the best. No one can stop you but you. No one can hold you back but the limitations you place on yourself. You have the power to rewrite your story, to rebuild from the inside out, and to rise higher than you've ever imagined. The world is waiting for you to show up. The world is waiting for you to claim your place, to make your mark, to remind everyone, including yourself, of your worth. You're not just a survivor. You are a conqueror. You're not just someone who endured the storm. You are the storm. It's time to rise. It's time to take your place in the world. So what are you going to do now? Will you continue to let fear and doubt hold you back? Will you keep playing small, hiding in the shadows of your potential? Or will you rise? Will you embrace your power, step into your greatness and show the world what you're really made of? The choice is yours. The journey is yours. And you, my friend, are the hero of this story. So rise. Let the world see the force that you are. Because the truth is, this is just the beginning. You've only just begun to reclaim the power that was always yours. It's time to rebuild. It's time to rise. And it's time to show the world who you really are. You weren't meant to stay down. You were never meant to lie in the dirt, swallowed up by your past. No, you were meant to rise, to shatter every expectation they placed on you, to silence every voice that told you you couldn't, and to prove every single doubt wrong. The truth you've been avoiding, the truth you've been too scared to face is that you hold the key to your own transformation. You always have.